It's the sentence of the court as follows. Count 1 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Luke Hoyer. The court imposes a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And that was the judge's ruling in the Parkland school shooter Nikolas Cruz case. Welcome back to Law and Crime. Before we jump back into the Karen Reed deliberation situation, we're going to pivot to Florida to discuss a very interesting civil settlement between the shooter and the surviving victim, Anthony Borges. This guy's 21 now. Somehow he survived being shot in the lungs, in the abdomen, in the legs. He was one of the victims in that February 2018 mass shooting. The school shooter was arrested that day. It was February 14th, Valentine's Day. He ultimately pled guilty to 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder. Borges testified during the defendant's death penalty phase. Let's look back and listen to what he had to say then.
And some of those things, though, may have occurred prior to looking this up, correct?
Sure, but the choice to use that weapon with that insignia on it and to leave it there at that time was well thought out.
Okay. And what evidence do you have of that?
What he said, his own words. He chose that weapon, he chose to inscribe that, and he chose to leave it there. So all of those things, that's a planned set of behaviors.
Right.
He didn't do that by accident. Those were all planned behaviors that he did. And he also said he did that for attention, to make sure people gave him attention, whether it was good or bad. So all of that is well thought out. It's not just researching Nazism, or it's not just researching swastikas. It's using that in your behavior. It's putting that out there into the world for an effect and anticipating the consequences of that.
Right, but him saying
Okay, not Anthony Borges here, but let's focus on that case again. A civil case that is a spin-off of this criminal case against Nikolas Cruz. The civil suit requested the right to use Nikolas Cruz's name, to effectively own that name. And this is why civil cases can be so interesting. Criminal cases are like a cookbook. You got these elements, leads to a crime. A civil case, you can really agree to, ask for, and negotiate anything. And in this particular case, Nikolas Borges said, I want his name. I want the right to his name. And that was granted. So not only does he have the right to Nikolas Cruz's name for whatever purpose, but there's also an agreement that Nikolas Cruz will donate his brain for examination when he dies. I think we have that video for you now. Let's go back in.
Tell us what happened, okay?
So I was in the third floor on class personalization, 1250, I think. And I was just sitting down, the teacher just explaining about the finalist exams and stuff like that. So I was just chilling, sitting, listening to music, and then I hear something weird, like a scream and like some echo. So I turned off the music, and then the alarm went on and then went off. And then went on again, like 2 times. So everybody was confused. Everybody just get out of the class. There was like a lot of people in the hallway. Then I decided to go out down to the stairwell. That's when I saw the gun and just closed the door and started running.
Okay, then what did you do?
Then he shot me on my left leg. And then I saw this door like half open. Then I closed it and then I just lay down there. So then I got shot, everything got silent. I just looked myself, check up on me. I look everything around me. There was a person in front of me. There was another person on the other side. I talked to that person to reach out if it was okay or anything. And she didn't respond. When I stopped talking to her, I just reached out my phone and I called my mom first. She didn't answer. I called my best friend. She didn't answer, and then I called my dad. So I told her everything, like goodbye and everything. I threw my phone because I didn't want the shooter just looking at me with the phone and shoot me again. So I just threw the phone.
Okay, when you were on the phone, where were you?
I was outside the classroom.
Yeah, were you standing?
No, I was shot. I was laying down in the hallway.
So you were laying in the hallway?
Yes.
Did you call for help or anything?
I did call. Yeah.
Did you call in Spanish and English or just
Both. Yes.
What were you yelling?
Help.
Help, help?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us what happened. You were laying in the hallway and you were shot. How many times? Do you know how many times you were shot?
At that time, I didn't know. I just felt like one shot.
Right.
But I got 5 times. So
Pardon?
5 times.
5 times?
Yes.
Where were you shot?
And my leg, my other leg, and the back, and over
Right.
here in the armpit.
Man, really a miracle. Borges ultimately had 14 surgeries. He was separately awarded $1.25 million for his severe injuries from the high school district. That was 2021. Now, yesterday, the Parkland shooter reached this settlement agreement I mentioned. He now owns Cruz's name. Ultimately, that means that he can't do any interviews, Cruz that is, documentaries. He can do nothing because he doesn't really have a name. It's so bizarre. A second concession was made that says that when Cruz dies, his brain will be donated to science. So it's a fascinating situation. Katherine Lizardo is here, Lateef Gray. You guys, let me ask you this. This is a situation in which truly creative civil process results in very unique findings and results. Katherine, what's your take on the motivation for this kind of lawsuit? Is he going to make money off that name? Is he just doing it to control what Nikolas Cruz does? What do you think?
First of all, I commend the civil attorney for Borges for coming up with this very creative, like you mentioned, settlement agreement. According to the interview of the father of Borges, that this is not motivated by money. They really wanted to control his name so he could not grant interviews about his mass killing. We heard testimony in that earlier clip of one of the experts saying that it was a well thought out mass shooting. And during the trial, it came out how many times Nikolas Cruz actually researched mass shootings. So he wanted notoriety for this. And by owning his name, now he cannot make those interviews and make himself famous for the horrific mass shooting.
Lateef, this is creative is the best word I can think of, and Katherine mentioned it as well. It's so unique. And that little nuance as well at the end. Well, by the way, when Nikolas Cruz dies, he has to donate his brain for scientific study. What's your take on this resolution?
It's a very creative resolution. It's a very victim-oriented resolution. I think the family, plaintiff's family, wanted this resolution so that they could make sure that the shooter, Mr. Cruz, doesn't benefit financially from his actions. And as far as his brain being donated, I think it's similar to, football players who've committed suicide and their brains are donated so that they can be studied. I think the point is we want to figure out what caused this, why it happened, and if there are ways we can prevent these things from happening in the future.
So, Katherine, I guess that gets us to the bottom line. Is there any good, any way that you can get some good out of this horrible story? Many people would rather not hear that name, whoever owns it, ever again.
Exactly. Even during the trial, people were trying not to mention his name and just call him a defendant so that his name doesn't get repeated over and over again in the media and give him that notoriety. So here, by owning his name, they can say, nope, your name will not be repeated again. I own it rightfully with our civil agreement, so his name will not be repeated again.
Yeah, it's just again, it makes you appreciate the civil system as it is. You can really come up with some very interesting resolutions. So we'll see if anything comes of this victory, as it were, in this case against the guy who used to own the name Nikolas Cruz. Let's take a break here. When we come back, though, I know I've said this before, we're going to do it again, though. Karen Reed, the jury is still deliberating, and we're going to get back into that case and some of the closing arguments right after this.